It's a fantastic chance of glory. It is one of those amazing series that just goes to show how amazing racing can be when it incorporates the sim racing element. This is about booking a direct entry into the finals of the PT Autosport 2024 Aspiring Driver Shootout. This here with PT Autosport is the PT Autosport eSeries. It's 3 races across December and 1 golden ticket awaits for those who win. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Global SimRacing Channel and coverage of the opening round here from the wonderful Oulton Park International Circuit. My name is Jake Sperry, and alongside me in the booth for this one is Joey Atterbury. Bradley Cooper is on the director's chair today. He is using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But what a circuit to start things off here in the heart of Cheshire, England. Who's going to be smiling like the Cheshire Cat? Well, the only way to find out is to understand why this circuit is such a technical marvel here of the United Kingdom with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Oulton Park Circuit. This British track to the southeast of Liverpool is a staple in the UK club racing scene, but has also hosted series as high level as Formula One a few times. At least with a small asterisk next to those events since they were non-championship rounds. The history and the lore of the venue is as unique as the layout itself. But that layout is more than just the international circuit this place is known for. An incredible 8 different versions can be run, but they all range between 1.5 to 2.5 miles in length. It's not exactly a long lap around here. What it lacks in that realm, it more than makes up for in bumps and hills. On top of that, Oulton Park offers some very fast corners, so you certainly won't get bored. Turns like Island Bend, Knickerbrook, and Druids can be utterly fearsome depending on which chicanes are at it. But even the slower corners often involve blind crests or kinked entries, making passing a very difficult prospect. In modern day, the place is mainly visited by touring cars, GT cars, motorcycles, and Formula 3. But here on iRacing, it's quite popular with the vintage community. Needless to say, this is a track that carries on the British tradition of fast, old-school style circuits that challenge and thrill drivers. It'll no doubt be a blast for both our competitors and fans today.
This has been the sort of circuit where you have seen so much great racing find itself around this place. This layout of the track that we're running has been unchanged almost since 1954. The circuit opened in 1953 with what is known effectively as the Foster's layout. But today it is going to be all about the tight and technical here, Joey. A circuit which from top to bottom has every single corner a difficulty in its own right.
Here in iRacing, known as the international layout. And yes, you see the tight and twisty bits, but 17 turns, just a tick under 2.7 miles in length, and plenty of elevation change the drivers are going to have to deal with. But I think the biggest car track combination here is going to be on the brakes and also putting the power down. We have the chicanes into these straightaway sections here. So if you are not on top of it into the brake zones, you'll go blowing through these tire bundles, have to pick up some sort of damage or time penalty. I think it's going to be all about driving the car and the track combination today. Don't overstep it.
And that's going to be the huge key in terms of this season. Yes, it's 3 races, but it's 3 different cars and 3 different tracks when you get into the meat and potatoes. This is round 1 of 3. The second race of tonight, it's 2 30-minute races that they're dealing with, is a full-on reversed grid. So you are going to have to fly on through in the second race to really jump forward. Now, if you do run into trouble here today, you do buff some of the paintwork here on these brilliant ARCA style cars, then you are going to have the opportunity to get back in the race with 1 spare car per race. So you've got that opportunity to go through, but you can't stray too far outside the boundaries, and they are notoriously tight here at Oulton Park. You get a drive-through penalty at 20 incident points, so that is definitely going to be in the back of the mind for a number of these drivers. But when you take an understanding, Joey, of where we are, what we're racing, and how much is at stake here, a good round one is going to be fantastic, but the fact that we're switching from driver to car and car to track, it's not necessarily the end of the world if you don't get the best result that you can out of race one. You've always got the opportunity to attack race two.
I think that the point of a championship is to minimize your bad days. Now, with only 3 races, yeah, you want to have good days all 3 times, but you're right. You're not going to fit every single car and track combination. And if you don't fit this one, which I bet you not a lot of people will, you just have to manage your way through it. I really do think today is going to be pretty chaotic. So as long as you can survive, I think you're actually going to walk out of here not only with a good finish, but a good helping of points.
And those points are crucial. Let's break down those points here, Joey, because it's pretty much as you would see for a Formula One style out there in terms of how the points break down. It's 25 points for a race win. It's 18 for second, 15 for third, 12 for fourth, and 10 for fifth. But the difference is from there, it's 1 point increment from fifth down to 15th.
Yeah, it goes a little bit further than what your F1 does in real life. The other one to consider, Jake, is qualifying. There are some points on the table there. 5 points for pole position, and then just 4 points for second, 3 points for third, 2 points for fourth, and then it also pays out for fifth. Just a single point there. So qualifying, equally important.
Yeah, we've seen so many championship efforts go wrong early on in the season, but we've also had a lot of opportunities to say that these drivers, the 30 drivers that are here, are the best of the best when it comes to this series, Joey. They've had to pre-qualify to get themselves through, and they've whittled down the field of potential sim racers and iRacers down into just the 30 that are there.
I'm pretty impressed with these 30 drivers. You're right, they have gone through an additional series. So basically, they've whittled them down. This is the best that are competing for what this prize is ultimately going to be at the end of it, which, Jake, is pretty dang rad.
It is. You get your chance to book yourself into the final, a direct partnership for the 2024 PT Autosport Aspiring Driver Shootout, where those 12 drivers get the opportunity to try and really challenge it out. This year, it was at New Jersey Motorsport Park, and that opportunity in terms of how it all goes forward is massive. First prize in that is a $100,000 driver partnership for the 2024 and 2025 seasons, which equates to roughly about $50,000 per year. You then get second place, a $10,000 reward towards any race school or coaching program, a 1-year contract option for a driver partnership, and also invited to test days and gets paddock access at all races that are participated in by PT Autosport in the 2024 season. So there are absolutely some wonderful incentives out there. We're going to take the chance to talk with the series organizer here for this one, Henry Drury, who is here with us for today. Now, Henry, I just wanted to get this opportunity to get a little bit of insight on just how crucial it is for you as a racing team to embrace sim racing as a whole, because having an incentive like this to procure the next generation of sim racing talent and racing talent as a whole, do you believe that sim racing is the next important holy grail to master the same way that karting was a few years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think that sim racing is the most important market for motorsports to grab a hold of, and the most important place to look for new talent in the next few years. I mean, this is where I learned to race, so it's very close to me. But I think having an affordable and accessible and fair pathway into motorsports is one of the most important things that hopefully we'll see change and grow in the next few years.
And so these drivers here today, they have been left in the dark, essentially, haven't they? They haven't really had the opportunity to know in advance what car are they driving, what track are they driving. They've just had that ability to go, right, adapt. And you're looking at that adaptability, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's again, we're looking for someone here who can take these skills and translate them to the real world. And a massive part of that is adaptability. You know, in the real world, you never have the same situation. You never know what variables you're facing. So part of the fun of this series is we sort of completely level the playing field in that everybody has the same amount of practice. It's a set free practice session. Nobody knows the car or the track until we announce it right as this session starts. which means that no matter if you have a full-time job, family, responsibilities, no matter how much time you have available, everybody has the same level playing field and a fair shot at the race.
And you've got two races here today. The full reverse grid, I think, is going to be one of the most interesting scenarios that's going to be out there for these drivers, especially when you consider you've got quite a wide car that maybe doesn't like turning as much when it comes to road courses. And you put it on one of the trickiest and technical circuits that the United Kingdom can hold. Henry, in terms of building the first challenge for these drivers, you can't get much more difficult than this, right?
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's part of what we want to do. That's part of the environment we want to create. We don't want this to be easy. You know, we could easily have gone, yeah, here, it's a GT3 car at Spa. You know, everyone's driven it before. Everyone knows what to expect. But we want to throw challenging situations at these drivers. So, you know, we will likely have our fastest driver, the winner from race 1, starting last in race 2. And I want to see how they adapt, how they work their way forwards. Again, we want to challenge them. We want to bring out the best and see who shines through in a really, really difficult scenario. So it's going to be fun. I'm very excited for it.
We're all excited as well. I think this is one of the ultimate challenges that you're going to see out there from so many amazing drivers. We are going to let you go back to your duties because qualifying has just started here at Alton Park. So thank you very much for joining us. That's Henry Drury here, ladies and gentlemen, who has been alongside with us there for the moment. A massive, massive figure in terms of putting this series together for the PT Autosport eSeries. But Joey, qualifying. Yes, it's 10 minutes long. Here's the big thing. It is 1 lap qualifying.
Pretty interesting little format we got going on. And not only is it 1 lap, but it is 1 lap of open qualifying. That means all of the cars are on the track at the same time. This is interesting, Jake. It much more reminds me of what real life would be. Now, real life, you do get to log as many laps as you want. However, you have to manage the track position, manage what's in front of you when you put down that lap. Do you go out there in a crowded racetrack? Do you wait a little bit to go out there? How do you manage this 10 minutes because you only have a single lap?
An aerial view there just for the quickest moment down on Little Budworth here in Tarporley, Cheshire, England. Here are the drivers looking to gear up for their 1 flying lap. Kevin Chabot here is really looking to try and mastermind this. In terms of the fastest times that we saw in practice, there were 2 drivers who are head and shoulders above the field. One of them, I would definitely say, is the odds-on favourite here for today. It's number 92, Michael Janney, who is waiting and watching everyone else go. The other driver who was out there to keep a focus on, who was the second quickest, was Andy Trupiano, who is out there currently starting his flying lap as we see these drivers now go through the deer leap and get on to their 1 and only attempt.
I like what the 92 car is doing. Look at how many cars are out there on the track. Now, some drivers approach it differently. Some drivers want a carrot to chase to stay on the track and basically do their fast lap time. But in the case of Michael Janney, he is just sitting out there watching the lap times come in. He has a reference point at the time that he goes out. And I'm also looking at timing and scoring. All but about 10 cars are out there on the racetrack. So everybody that's on the racetrack is going to have to come in, and he'll have a nice, peaceful, empty racetrack.
He absolutely will, and that's going to be really crucial. He'll have all the peace in the world, nobody balking his lap time. Chabot then going through the Bank Shell Oils corner and now heading to this first of the chicanes here. This is the Britain chicane through the very, very aggressive right and left. Very easy to overcook it through this section. Back up on the hill. We go on board because you crest the rise and you drop on down to the Hislop chicane here, the next important right and left-hander, and that leads to this transfer corner here of Knickerbrook.
And I gotta say, these cars are looking very well behaved on brand new tires. This is the first sticker lap, a qualifying lap, but when these cars get, about 3 or 4, not only that, but 25 minutes into the race, they are going to be squirming all over the place, screaming for grip.
They absolutely are. And of course, track temperatures here today, I would say, getting closer to the hot side. 39.7, the first real time. Andy Trupiano sets and goes to the top of the board. Aaron Smith, the second, finds himself then in that second position for the moment as all these drivers look to try and put as much as they can down on the board. Benjamin Forster goes fourth fastest then, and it's going to be rapid fire here in terms of the opening laps of drivers who have got themselves in a position where they are looking to try and improve. Cam Jordan might be one of those drivers who is certainly searching for a little bit of improvement, as Jake King goes fastest by almost 3/10.
Yeah, fantastic lap from that number 52 right there. A 1:39.50 is the new provisional pole time to go out there and chase that red 52 sitting on top.
That red 52 put an absolutely brilliant lap together. Anton Schopler goes 13th quickest then with his lap time, as well as the likes of Thomas Bellarmine has just jumped up the order. P6, you'd take that with a handbag, again, a heartbeat, you would say at that moment. So he's certainly looking very, very good out there in terms of his work. So currently it's King, Trupiano, Smith, Polasek in fourth position. He's a dark horse for this one in terms of the overall. And then Patrick Hingston in fifth position. Alejandro Razo goes over the line. He finds himself 11th fastest with that effort. But we do have drivers out there searching for those times and looking for the lap time that works. Zach Mertz is one of them. Cam Jordan then was very much another.
And I think with about 4.5 minutes left remaining, we're going to see those cars roll out of pit lane, probably here in the next 30 seconds to minute or so. Remember, it's about 1.5 minutes around this place, so if you want to get that lap in, you have to factor in that out lap. So as these cars are now finishing their lap and exiting the racetrack, I think we'll have that second wave come on out.
Now, with this being 10 minutes and open qualifying, I think this is going to throw a real cat amongst the pigeons, as they're finally exiting the circuit is number 92. Therefore, the moment, here's a little look at one of our drivers looking to get an understanding of where they are. Are they happy? Are they not? I would say they're somewhere in the middle at this point, getting a little bit of conversation in. A few drivers will have pit crew members out there, spotters to go help them around. That's Zachary Mertz, who, of course, has Josh Parent for company as his spotter today.
I think that if I'm one of the drivers that have already turned in their lap time, go out there and watch some of these competitors, see where their lines are. You can always learn something somewhere from watching a different driver. It might be on entry. It might just be how they approach an apex or a curb. Remember, you're jumping a lot of the stuff with these tire bundles out there. Just pay attention to somebody else and you might be able to pick something up for the race.
Very, very bumpy run then out of Druids here and into the Lodge corner, down the hill and looking up for the dear lead. Can Cam Jordan do enough in terms of his time? 39.5 is the time to beat. That's a 41.9, so it was 2.4 seconds off the pace in the number 19 machine and drops down to 14th position only. You've got Michael Odell, who is out there on a qualifying lap at this moment. He's making the push round the lakeside bend and heading towards the Shell Oils corner, absolutely drifting.
Oh, and I got in pretty deep there, but I think just the grip of the new tires was able to save him. Now you put the power down and you see it just squirming, trying to get the traction down. It's not just in first gear, but it's also on the upshifts.
Yeah, every single time you are really dealing with a very difficult car, and a difficult car that you have to argue as well has an incredibly difficult engine. It is 641 brake horsepower from a Chevrolet pushrod 358 cubic inch V8. It is an absolute monster, and right now Michael Odell has been scrapping along with it. A little bit better out of Knickerbrook and up the clay hill to the water tower.
And that shot gives you a good idea of just kind of the rising elevation crest that you have to deal with, all the bumps that you were talking about, and what happens when you lose the front end on one of these big, heavy cars. It just seems to never want to turn.
It never does, and you're always hoping that you're going to have that ability to turn, that you can fight against it. Odell looking to try and maximize everything. Another little wiggle coming out then of the Lodge corner and over towards the line. What sort of time will this be? Answer to that then for Michael Odell, as it looks like it doesn't go and register. So he's had an off track somewhere. This just leaves 1 and 1 alone. Michael Janney, who some will say is the odds-on favorite here today. Odell's actually on an outlap, so that was to set up his flyer that he's got going on. But Michael Janney here, he is going to be eyeing the top of that board, and the time set here by number 52, Jake King. He is hoping that with all the time that he's been looking for, the time he set in practice was 3/10 quicker than that. Has he been able to hook it together? It's nice and neat here through the lodge, down the hill and up it again. He's been doing almost every Pro Series for the Apex Racing team. Looks over towards the line. 39.209. He puts it by almost 3/10 with a right smile.
What a lap from the 92 there. I'm curious to see if Odell is actually going to be able to complete that lap. It was right at about 1:40 that he crossed that start-finish line. But when I watch Michael Janney and how he was driving this track, Jake, even on a qualifying effort where you're going 10/10, he is just so smooth. And in these cars, you have to be smooth.
You absolutely do. His time is fantastic with 20 seconds to go. I'm not sure if Michael Odell is going to get his qualifying lap in. He's going to be right on the edge here as he waits for it with Janney currently on the pole. Only Michael Odell can maybe change that. We will see what sort of time he puts down on the board. He might just, though, be out of time. Checkered flag comes out. He will not be able to go forward. Let's jump over to the starting grid then and see how everybody will stack up then at Alton Park's international layout here today. Michael Janney has the pole position on a 139.209, and we'll have Jake King alongside for company on the front row. Andy Trupiano and Aaron Smith will have themselves third and fourth, with fifth belonging to Michael Polasek, and Patrick Hingston starts in sixth position. Thomas Bellarmine will go from seventh, along with Benjamin Forster in eighth, leaving Aiden Young and Zachary Mertz rounding out the top 10.
Nicholas Reciputo here in 11th, Nathan Olson in 12th, Alejandro Razzo lined up in 13th, William Augustine in 14th, Cam Jordan is going to be starting in 15th, Aiden Crawford 16th, Alexandro Vielma in 17th, Kevin Chabot in 18th, Jacob Reuser in 19th, and Seth Aldretti in 20th.
Over the page, only 21 drivers were able to set a qualifying time, which means there are going to be a number of drivers on the wrong end of it. Anton Schopler was the last driver to set a time. Then you got Ethan Oring, Thomas Briggs, Michael Odell, Aidan Meek, Trez Drawhorn is there, as well as Connor Henry and Ashton Heng, who are all in position. And you've got, of course, the likes of Garrett Vuitton, Jeffatiah Dice, and Matthew Rora, who were also unable to set their representative flying times. So these drivers will know that they have themselves 5 minutes to grid themselves up here today to get themselves ready and situated. Rolling start, as was to be expected here with this style of machinery. They'll be behind the Porsche iRacing first safety car here today at Alton Park, a circuit which has had a lot of history and heritage and shows so many similarities to one of the other US circuits in the world, Joey, and that, of course, it becomes Lime Rock Park, for the sense that they're both very technical circuits, both very difficult to overtake, and both circuits where you can't race on a Sunday.
That's true, yes. And I think especially this format with the chicanes really does remind me of Lime Rock with the chicanes as well. I think the biggest difference, I think Lime Rock is actually a lot wider than this racetrack. This one is very punishing in compared to that racetrack up in the northeastern part of the U.S. So it'll be interesting. We got big, giant, heavy cars, and as they're gridding up, I'm looking at the width of this racetrack. You could probably squeeze 3 wide in some points, but you see right here, there's just not much room to move around side by side. Combine that with the turns as they lead into the brake zones, it kind of leads into a natural defensive posture. It is very difficult to pass.
It is. These Chevrolet National Impalas are incredibly difficult to try and navigate a way around, especially on a circuit like this, which is very tight, which is very technical as it is today. It's almost like taking an American muscle car, putting it on essentially one of those English country lanes that you sort of get around Cheshire and Lancashire and Yorkshire and all those sorts of county areas. It is very much like having a square peg to fit a round hole. And that is the difficulty that these drivers are going to run into today. They know that one small little bit of contact and it's going to be a much larger issue later down the road. And you have to consider that they don't really have that much margin here today, Joey, when it comes to incident limit. This track is punishing if you get it even slightly wrong.
What I like about a lot of the older British road racing tracks is they're a roller coaster. Between elevation and the corners, you really have to just kind of hang on to the car and drive this thing. However, we keep talking about how big these cars are. A roller coaster in a big, giant American muscle car, you have to tiptoe it around through some sections. It's not a fast little prototype, a little open wheeler that you can fly around this racetrack. So I'm just curious to see how this first lap will go, how the drivers will approach this entire 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I am sure that we are going to see just how important today's racing is going to be. There are your track temperatures and air temperatures up on screen. It's 100 Fahrenheit track temperature, so it is a pretty toasty circuit out there today. Air temp just the 69 degrees Fahrenheit, but there you got a little bit of wind here today. Isn't going to be doing too much for these drivers, but if a car is going to get loose in a certain section of circuit here, Joey, it's that little element of wind that's going to be the difference between can you hold on to it and can you not.
Combine that with these little itty-bitty crests. Remember, no traction control, no ABS. You really do have to drive these old cars, and if you took the body off of these things, you would see it is just a box of tubes. It is true 1960s, 1970s technology underneath that.
It is very much the bread and butter basics that they're all going to have to go for as the Porsche iRacing first safety car does make its launch away, and it is, of course, a short run here. They will only go from, I believe, Druid's Corner here, down the avenue and heading towards Lodge, or the Lodge, out there as they go through. That bridge that they cross underneath is the entrance to the circuit, so they will have everybody get themselves ready and understanding that these 30 minutes that they will now have to battle with are going to be so crucial. Michael Janney has been in this position a million times before. He has known exactly how it takes to go and get a victory in a series like this, and for him, it's just another Saturday. By the way his demeanor looks, that iRacing Porsche first safety car is going to pull off right. The green flag drops, and we are underway and racing here from Alton Park. The run then over to the opening corner is going to be vital here. Rushing down through and around the outside goes Jake King. He got a fantastic launch off of the start, and he will usurp the race lead going down towards the Cascades.
You're right, Jake King in the red 52 assumes the race lead, and it's pretty well-mannered throughout the entire top 10. Once you get 15th on back, it starts to get really busy, but here we go. This is the corner I'm looking for. Everybody's got to get on the brakes for the first time.
They absolutely do, because that Shell Oil's corner, it's so easy to go wrong. We've already got dramas in the middle of the pack, and look at that, number 45, Michael Polasek is one of them who's been caught up. So two drivers have found themselves with a bit of contact, and look at the front left of that car exposed.
Yeah, I can report it was Benjamin Forster that got into the back of this number 45. Then also the 02 was involved, but they go streaming through these tire bundle chicanes, up and over these crests. Remember, gotta be gentle with these tires. The more you abuse them early on, the less they're gonna be there for you at the end of the race.
And drivers are also going to struggle through the Hislop chicane and head on forward. Remember, if you get a slowdown penalty in the opening lap like Thomas Bellarmine has just got at the moment, it is going to be torturous to try and serve that in the opening couple of laps. Front drivers, though, clear. It's King from Janney, Aaron Smith the second in third. You've then got Trupiano in fourth and Hingston in fifth. There's a big gap to Forster in sixth after the contact with Polasek, and that's the break these drivers were hoping for.
The other big one, I'm seeing a couple big movers. Ethan O-Ring back here, up 8 positions on the first lap alone. So there's definitely some ones that have fallen, some ones that have moved up the field. And I was going to talk about the lead. I think Michael Janney is totally okay hanging out in second place right now.
Yeah, he doesn't have to take the lead initially. He just has to wait later. Cars driving off the circuit. We saw Alexandro Vielma in a little bit of trouble earlier on, but down the hill at the Cascades, Ethan Oring finds himself now in a side-by-side with Aidan Crawford, looking for position. William Augustine looks on, and then on top of that, you got Bellarmine, who's got the penalty to serve, and Alejandro Razzo in through the big long left-hander through at Lakeside, and now heading for the brakes at Shell Oil's corner. You really do have to go single file through that section. That is going to be the main cause of concern, as now Trupiano has to look behind at Patrick Hingston as the race lead starts to hot up.
And Janney just right on the back of Jake King here. I mentioned, I think that Michael Janney is totally okay as he goes in a little bit deep there to the second chicane. That's going to put him off the sequence just a little bit. You see Aaron Smith gobble up that time. So Michael Janney with the first mistake we've seen.
Yes, but he's got away with that, and that's the crucial matter of fact. Yes, it's a mistake, but it's not one that has cost him in terms of his race. He will be able to gather that back up again and really put himself through. Now, they're either on 250 laps run or 30 minutes. We'll call it 30 minutes here today in terms of the time that is going to need to be set in terms of when the checkered flag is going to drop. So that's going to be crucial. Little look there in the background. It looked like there was a bit of side-by-side as Rice Puto there gets a huge kick. There goes through. He'll lose that one back to Nathan Olsen as King sets the fastest lap of the race. Back through goes Olsen. There's not much you can do. And just in front, here's the up and under. Nip one per one. Forster catches Aiden Young being too aggressive.
Yeah, and he continues to fall back. He loses a few positions from that one. That's Aiden Young there in the 427, that black car here that we're riding on board with. He gathers it back up, but what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lead breakaway pack of about 5 cars here, Jake, and then a second pack here that's a little bit further off the pace. So I think when you're talking about the big picture, you have to survive. It's already starting to separate out just a little bit.
Yeah, and that could be really crucial there. We see Aiden Young having all the help in the world here as he now looks to go through. Look at the level of concentration that's there on his face as he dives through, and in the background also doing exactly the same thing. I think everybody at heart knows when you're going through a tight chicane, Joey, the head's going to bob because you're trying to squeeze through the gap.
Well, the head bobs and the shoulder, the inside shoulder picks up a little bit if you get squeezed in there. So yeah, you just got to do everything that you can to try to squeeze through that chicane. Just like when I was growing up racing Miatas, you'd have to stick the arm out the window and paddle along down the straightaway.
Oh, everybody's squirreling up the clay hill, heading over towards the Druids corner. That could have very easily been trouble, and it is for Forster because Nathan Olsen is on an absolute rampage at the moment. He started the lap in about 9th place. He's now up into 6th. He's had a very, very good lap 3 of his race.
Let's see what he crosses the line with. I mentioned there is a separation of between the two packs here, but Nathan Olsen in this all-white car, he's going to try to close it into that group in the top 5.
Well, that is the fastest lap of the race at 1:40.1. So, yeah, he's absolutely pushing. And, well, why wouldn't you? He's quicker than those in the top 5 at this moment, which is spearheaded by King and has those 5 drivers, of course, with Smith and Trupiano and Hingston there. There are the differences in terms of lap comparisons to the number 1 car of Chabot, and there's the difference, 14 seconds. It just goes to show you that when you're in the middle or near the front of the pack, you've got the ability to run the pace you want. Towards the rear, you're scrapping with everyone. It's so easy to bleed time.
It's all track position. It comes down to that, but I'll say this, Jake, we haven't talked about it much other than the race analysis. That track position gets reversed at the end of this one.
It does, so it's not the end of the world if you have a bad race 1. You're trying to cut your losses when it comes to the second race as they go forward. Up over the hill then, and starting to drive a little search for position in towards Hislops then for Aiden Young as he in 9th position right now looks to find a way past the 7 here. Nicholas Rice-Puto for position, not quite able to find it, but up the clay hill towards the water tower. It's a very difficult section of circuit to find that pass because you're always on the pivot for the brakes at Druids.
And what I'm noticing now, we are on lap 4, but look at how much these cars are already moving around, way more than what we saw in qualifying. Those tires have worn off, and in fact, right in front of them, I saw Benjamin Forster lock it up big time, lose some track position in this black and purple car. So the drivers, they're not only having to drive the track now, but they're having to adjust every single lap for that tire wear.
They absolutely are. It's Benjamin Forster who's got that control. Remember, it's on 30 minutes that we're racing. They've already done nearly 7 minutes of that, so we're about a quarter of the way through this, or I would say, yeah, around a quarter of the way soon, going to be through this race, as now you can certainly sense this is where you can really open up the taps. Now, they can reach speeds of up to over 200 miles an hour. That's normally in ideal super speedway conditions. This is far from.
It is very far from super speedway conditions, but Michael Janney's been doing a terrific job. Really, everybody inside this top 5 has been keeping it nice and tidy. You notice the white 92, he's giving a little bit more berth through the chicane. This second chicane was where he had his problem earlier in the race. The red 52, Jake King, our leader, taking advantage of everything that he can get.
Yeah, and every single advantage that you can find is massive when it comes to a race like this, and it's very much a chock-a-block style race that they've got at the moment. If you can control yourself through the opening stages, they're pretty much sat on a very similar scenario, you could say, to when you're driving in Monaco, for example, here, Joey, because this is the sort of race where they are finding out this is tough to overtake.
Could you imagine these ARCA cars at Monaco? Oh my goodness, it would be so squeezed through some of those sections. It would be pretty amusing to watch, but I guess when you talk about road racing, this one's pretty narrow. I can think of some other road race tracks that are pretty narrow as well, but unforgiving certainly in some of this area.
Yeah, we're seeing that unforgiving nature of this track already through the early phases of the race. Some drivers have fallen back a little bit in terms of their pace, and they're forming these battle packs right now. Yes, we got the 5 at the front, but then you've got Aiden Young's group in 7th position, who are all trying to keep themselves in range, as now Benjamin Forster is now going to start making that move. If he can pivot to that inside, he might take the line away here from Young, who just about sweeps around the outside. Big bit of aero wash there as the nose gets chopped clean there for Forster, and that puts Rice Puto into position then in the 9th place, looking to jump up into 8th. And now as they head to the very, very technical Britain chicane, they're now really trying to work with everything that they've got, and they are all dancing on a knife's edge.
It's just so narrow in some of these places. The cars are so heavy that if you have to poke your nose out, you're going off of the racing line, and you have to make adjustments for that. It's easy to kind of naturally defense your line going into some of these corners. Just let the car drift wide. It may narrow up your entry, but it defends everything from behind. And then as long as you park it at apex, put the power down nice and clean coming out.
Now, Nathan Olsen here has made some really good progress. He's just caught the back here of Patrick Hingston, who's dropped off of that range, and look at that, slipping on through. That was as plain and as easy as you like. Nathan Olsen is on an absolutely fantastic drive. He might as well have been a Carolina Panther at one point and called himself Greg Olsen. He is doing an incredible job.
Well, if he's Greg Olsen, he'd be up here in the commentary booth with us, so it's good to see him still out there on the racetrack, but terrific drive. Remember, he was part of that second group, but he has been the fastest car on the racetrack and consistently the fastest car on the racetrack. I expect him to go up here and hunt down the next one, Trupiano.
Yeah, and that is just a couple seconds down the road, so he's very much looking for that latch, and they are starting to hit that lap traffic stage. Matthew Rohrer dives off the road at the Shell Oils corner and stays well out of the way of these front 6, who are able to keep themselves nice and calm as they go through. But now it's all about the next phase, and that looks like a blown engine.
Yeah, I believe this is the 68 car, so
that is Rohrer.
Matthew Rohrer just a little bit further down, already a couple laps off the pace, but when it rains, it pours.
It does, and that will probably guarantee him the transfer pole for that next race, that race 2 that they have. So that is going to be very much focused. 18.5 minutes left then here in this opening race. King has been happy to control this one out there from the front, but this is where you're getting through the middle of this race. You've had your on trade the first 5 to 10 minutes. Now you're in the middle. This is the workhorse laps that they find, and they are all trying to position themselves for the end of this race.
And when we talk about the good pace here through the section, this middle section of the race, it has all been, how did you treat your tires in the first couple laps? Did you abuse them or did you take care of them? Because if you took care of them right now, your car is starting to feel really, really nice, and everybody else around you is starting to fall off just that little bit. So you start to have that edge of advantage, and that will continue to carry through the rest of the race. But it all came down to the beginning. Did you take care of your stuff?
Yeah, and it's that beginning that's crucial. Michael Janney has not relented in any way, shape or form in this one after losing the race lead. Following nose to tail here, Jake King, who is driving an absolutely fantastic race here at the front in his Chevrolet, making sure that he is using all of the road and has every line sorted. And his priority is going to be exit speed as he slides a little bit up the hill. This might open up the opportunity down in towards Hislop that doesn't think there's an angle, taking the middle of the road. I think here more than anywhere else is going to be the ultimate defensive strategy, because how are you supposed to get around on a two-wide track when you're in the middle of both lanes?
Especially with how wide it is. You know, it literally does take up all the lanes if you park this big old thing right in the middle of the racetrack. So you see Michael Janney trying to find a way to poke his nose down in somewhere, but oftentimes there's nowhere to go. But look at this red 52, Jake King. He's starting to swirl around more and more. The front end is searching for grip. The rear end doesn't have anything coming out of the corner. So I feel like if Michael Janney here in second place continues to do what he's doing, he's like a coyote nipping at the heels.
He very much is. He is just waiting for that one moment of weakness to go and pounce. Side by side behind there for fourth. Olsen to the inside then of Trupiano for position. Thank you very much. He gets that one sorted at turn one. The Old Hall corner is where he finds perfection and moves up now into fourth.
And I can't wait for Nathan Olsen to prove me wrong, because I keep talking about abusing your tires. Well, Nathan Olsen has had the fastest lap of this race handily. I'm looking, about 4/10 over what Michael Janney has put down so far. If he goes up there and can hang on to this thing the whole time, starting way back there, an amazing drive.
Well, he started 12th, and he's already up 8 spaces here into fourth position. Ethan Oring, another driver, is having a great run. He's up 12, and up 11 is Thomas Briggs. So there are some drivers in this field who are absolutely jumping forward. Also, you can't count out, of course, Trey Drawhorn, who's moved up another 11 places of his own. So everybody is finding room to maneuver.
Watching the lead up front here, I see Michael Janney just start to be a little bit more nice and tidy through these chicanes, starting to take a little bit more of the curb, cut that course just a little bit more aggressively, and yet close it in. Look at him literally underneath the spoiler of Jake King.
Yeah, so that is going to be, for Jake King, the next thing that he's got. Michael Janney has been in almost every series, as there's another smoking car in front. The spin there around for the lap trap. That's Matthew Rohrer again. He's got the spare car out, he's struggling. Janney looking for the pivot at the inside. It's not there, but he's been in everything. You ask him what he's been in. Has he been in IMSA? Yes, he has. Has he been out there in the Grand Prix Turn Racing Series? Yes, he has. At the highest level of sim racing, Michael Janney's done it all.
And he's looking to add to it, quite frankly. I mean, he's right here. He's in a great position right now. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to sneak up the inside, but I also want to give credit to Aaron Smith, this third place yellow number 70. We keep talking about the front two, but this yellow 70 has hung in there the entire time. And quite honestly, Jake, if there's any kerfuffle between the front two, Aaron is going to be there to take it all.
From Club Carolina, the home of this style of racing, he now jumps on forward here through the left and the right to the British chicane, up the hill and looking for the plateau. That yellow 70 has been absolutely fantastic. And look over to the outside from Michael Janney. It is once again defended into his lot, and that line is certainly paying off here for Jake King in that 52. He knows exactly what he wants to prioritize, and it's that exit there out of Knickerbock.
Yeah, and Janney actually slipped up just a little bit, got a very poor exit out of that second chicane. You see him wiggling around a little bit more. It's actually fallen into the clutches of Aaron Smith just a little bit. However, when I look at the demeanor and how everybody's approaching this race right now, I think that yellow number 70, he's waiting for Michael Janney to make a move. I think he has got a fast car underneath himself as well.
Yeah, he definitely has a fast car. Even Tracy Chapman would say so. Now is looking up the hill and onto another lap. This is their 11th revolution they start then of this circuit, pivoting through the Old Hall corner. And now it's all about that drive through the avenue and down the hill. The right of Denton's leads to the Cascades, this fast left-hand bend, which is just a nightmare to get any form of grip through.
Well, they are all searching for grip. Look at the yellow car just slide its way through on the throttle. Now they're going to have to use the other pedal, that middle pedal, slow the car down all the way. You see all three of these guys just searching for whatever grip they can find.
Well, it's whatever's there and whatever they can get a hold of at this moment with 12 minutes and 20 seconds. It is sat firmly at the front of this field as a very, very close showcase at the moment. Another great drive off the exit then from King means Gianni will not have an opportunity here when it comes to the Hislop chicane. He's trying to get in the mirrors, trying to get wide. Effectively, what he's going to is the Sim Racer's handbook for trying to make an overtake. Rule 1, get as wide as you possibly can in the mirrors.
It can be, but when you're out front leading the race and you've gotten over halfway through, you look at the timer, yeah, it says 11 and a half minutes, but if you're in the lead of this race, that might as well be the last lap. You are defending for everything that you can, especially since you got out there. Remember, you wrestled it away in turn 1. This has been your race. You have dictated the entire pace. You want to finish it out.
You absolutely do, and of course there is Nathan Olsen, who is very happily sat on the back and waiting to try and get into this group. Finds himself just 1.1 seconds off the pace here of Aaron Smith for the overall delta of this race. He has been rampaging through after not the most amazing qualifying down on the 6th row of the grid, but he has been absolutely flying. You look at those times over the last 2 laps, he's taken 1.4 seconds. That is not a bite, that is a full-on scoff.
Huge chunks of time, and I'm also seeing our leaders start to scrap it out more and more. And look at this, you can see the time visually coming down, and not only that, but we are dealing with more lap traffic. We've been talking about how narrow this place is, how wide these cars are, just another variable.
And let's not forget that these drivers can push it to the absolute extremes, and this style of racing is not unheard of to have a little push to get out of the way, especially here today. That might be what style is going to be needed. Now, Thomas Bellarmine here, the lap traffic, is going to have to find a way to get out of the way of these 4, and we can say 4 now because they're all there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's soon to be 5 if there's going to be anything that Andy Trupiano is going to say. Pulls over to the right outside of Knickerbrook, and just like that, the release for Jake King is going to be a satisfactory one because he now knows that he is safe on the run up here into Druid's Corner. But as he takes a very shallow entry in, he might not have as much on the exit. Fights off of it. Michael Janney might have a pivot. Will it not be for Seth Aldretti, the traffic that's in front?
And he once again just puts his car right in the perfect spot, smack in the middle of the road. You don't have to go all the way inside. You just have to persuade that car behind not to make the look. But here we go, having to deal with the lap traffic. The leaders are getting checked up big time here.
They are, and now where do you go to try and find that move? Power on the brakes. Why don't you? Nobody is getting much help here. Down the hill, in towards the Cascade, and a little bit wide Aldretti goes, and this might be the pick that's needed. If you don't have the message now, you're never going to get it. And Jake King, I think, is going to say, this is what I want and this is what I need. I need to make this move, and everybody now trying to dance on the finest line. Aaron Smith going to power around the outside to get through. The driver that's going to hold up is Smith on that outside line, and he's now going to drop about half a second here.
Yeah, and I think crucially, Nathan Olsen is able to squeeze through before this first chicane. So Jake King, Michael Janney, Aaron Smith, Nathan Olsen, nothing has changed between these front 4.
And Trupiano's not going to be too happy because now Patrick Hingston's immediately on the back there. You can see it there. The red car of Patrick Hingston is right there.
Trying to make whatever he can work through that lap traffic. It gets narrow, especially through those chicanes, but we're under 10 minutes to go. Can Michael Janney go up there and wrestle away the lead here from Jake?
Well, I tell you what, if Jake King is able to hold this off, this is going to be one of the most important drives of his sim racing career, because he has not had any moment to rest here in this race. Although he's not had a move from Michael Janney, he has been put in a constant pressure cooker, and they keep notching up the dial a little bit lap after lap. And that is what Jake King, in his opening race of 6 in this championship, 2 per night, is finding at this point.
And I think if I'm Jake King, if I've got somebody on the radio, they need to be telling them, you know, Michael Janney has slipped up a few times coming out of the exit of these corners. I think that he's been nailing the brakes, nailing the entry, but if he gets checked up, his momentum can definitely stall out. I've seen a few mistakes from that white 92, and it has all been on corner exit, trying to squeeze that power to the floor.
On the brakes then, through the Shell Oils corner here, this fast, fantastic right-hand bend, banked all the way, and you try and really put the power down. Now, this machinery, in terms of how it's normally set up for a left-hand turned bank. Now, how will these cars really manage and navigate through, Joey, when it comes to right-hand banking?
Well, and remember, they do not have independent rear suspension. We were talking about how old these pretty much truck arms are underneath these cars, so it's a handful. You have to drive them, not to mention the teeny tiny brakes. These huge cars, if you actually looked at the tires, they are little itty bitty. It's like a big bear on one of those little itty bitty circus bicycles.
Wow. That pretty much says everything you need to know about how much work you've got to do. The time has pretty much gone to naught for Nathan Olson. He's found himself in the train, but he hasn't been able to find a pivot to make the move as he searches towards the inside, trying to get in the rear view, but isn't quite there. Look at him. You can throw a blanket over them with 6 minutes 10 left.
Well, Jay King really made a mistake out of that final corner. He missed the apex, and I think that really stacked him up. But you're right. Nathan Olson has collected this group. He hasn't been able to work his way forward in terms of position, though.
No, and Aaron Smith, you have to give him a lot of credit in third position. He's just been watching from the catbird seat. He's very much been, when can I become captain at this moment, and he might just see it. Little look to the inside from Michael Janney on the lakeside straight into the lakeside corner, and now over at Shell Oils, it's just not enough angle here, not enough straight. Almost a half straight that you've got to try and make a move, and he's now started to push here against 52 Jake King.
You said that Rubbin is racing earlier. Well, with about 5.5 minutes, Michael Janney is now starting to let him know, hey, if you haven't seen me in the mirror all race long, I'm here.
Letting his presence be known at this point. The name precedes him in terms of sim racing. Michael Janney is one of the elite when it comes to his sim racing efforts. Now he looks to try and tackle his way out of Knickerbrook corner, but again, Jake King is so secure at that corner that he has no worries when he drives up the clay hill towards Druids corner.
It's just all driving your own race. Pretty much turn off that mirror at this point. You have figured out the defensive lines on where to put the car. Keep doing what you've been doing the entire race so far.
While that's all happening, there's an absolutely massive train that's forming back through, I believe, 8th to 13th, and this is the look that you're going to get here. This is where all these smaller positions are also going to matter here right now, because you've got Rice Puto, you've got Ethan Oring, Michael Polisek, Benjamin Forster, Alejandro Razzo is in there, and Thomas Briggs. All of these drivers right now inside the top 15, there is a championship point for each position they can make.
And that's the point that I was going to make. It pays out to 14th place, so even though that this is a little bit further back and you see him just squirming this car down, that's the number 64 of Ethan O-Ring at the front of this little pack here. These are championship points. The more you can go forward, the better you're looking at the end of today.
Looking for an angle down the hill on Michael Polisek then is going to be Benjamin Forster at the Cascades. Now looking to try and get that drive off the exit. He's actually got a really nice run here, but he's going to have to lift out of it here through the fast-flowing left-hander. 173 Ks, it's about 130 miles an hour there or thereabouts as they really try and ratchet through these corners and really open up the ability on these straights. That is where they find themselves. Top two have turned each other around. Janney Janny and King have turned themselves around, and Olsen takes a tap. It's Aaron Smith who leads.
Oh my goodness, and crucially, neither one of them have actually spun around, but it's Aaron Smith that's in your lead. Nathan Olsen assumes second place, but it was Michael Janney trying to get up underneath Jake King coming out of the second chicane here, Jake.
Yeah, through Hislops and trying to get the angle at Knickerbrook. It's always difficult. Now, look at this angle. He tries to catch him unawares here, goes for the inside. It's not quite on for Michael Janney, and he's very lucky he doesn't turn Olsen with that, and it was that tap that keeps him in the race. But Jake King will feel very hard done by because he did nothing wrong all race long. Janney went for the hero move and ended up 0.
Well, and you just look at the trajectory of Janney's car, that even if Jake King wasn't there, it was going all the way out to the dirt anyways. So I just think a little bit of a desperation move from the 92. And hey, I don't blame him. Remember, you've been stuck behind this car the entire time. It looked like frustration might have boiled over, or maybe just the eyes got too big at that moment.
Well, that is where chances are really made. If you get bogged down, if you get frustrated, that's when the powder keg explodes. And that is what we've seen between King and Janney. And through all of that, Janney is still stuck behind Jake King.
I think that was by design, too. I think that he knew that he made that wrong. If you watch the end of that replay, he definitely let Jake resume that position that he had in front of him.
Yep, so a very tactical redress, you would say, at that point too. As they deal with the lap traffic, they are going to be down to only a couple of laps left, if not one. In fact, it will be one lap left when they cross the line. So that is going to be crucial for Aaron Smith, the second, who's found that he is not second at the moment. He's first, and he's got a good gap here on Nathan Olsen. And the question's going to be, with Olsen's car, how much of a hit did he take to what was the driver's side door?
You know, I think he's okay. You look out in front, and yeah, it's a second and a half to Aaron Smith. Yeah, you hunted him down earlier, but remember, you started back in the 12th place position. You see the white flag in the podium right now. Just get it done.
It is the last lap of race 1 of 2 here in the PT Autosport eSeries here, this opener. Wide off of that section goes Aaron Smith, and they're all going to be looking around at each other and whether they're going to hit an instant point limit as well. Keep that in the back of the pocket as they now start to drive. That gap is all about to close up, as it's all now down to Nathan Olsen. And can he find a miracle here in race 1 of 6? Try and chase this one all down. Aaron Smith's number 70 has stayed well out of trouble already in this opening sector. It has been slashed in half almost right now by Olsen. He is throwing everything he can at Aaron Smith, and Smith will see it is black box relative that time will drop and drop and drop, because Nathan Olsen is a driving machine at this moment in time. Up over the hill, looking towards Hislops. It's so easy to lock a brake here. It's so easy to overshoot it, but both drives are perfect. But Olsen's right there and sliding it through the corners. He'll have one chance to make this move, and that is going to be at the lodge. So he needs the perfect clay hill here, past the water tower, this next left-hand corner, and through at Druids. It's going to be crucial. Aaron Smith needs to be absolutely pixel perfect, and he has hit his marks fantastically. Half a second to chase down. I'm not sure Nathan Olsen can send this one to the heavens, but coming through the final section of track, he's just got the deer leap to go. Aaron Smith absolutely made sure that patience would prevail.
Tremendous race from that yellow number 70. Very quiet in third place the majority of the time, and then took advantage of all of the scrapping in front of him. Almost like I predicted that one, Jake.
Almost as such. Almost as such.
Oh,
Jay.
Alejandro Razzo is turned around on the final lap here. He was in that 10th place position. So this was that championship points that were still on the line. He falls now to 12th.
He was really pushing here to try and find a way past Ethan Oring, who was throwing every block he possibly could, and then he got tagged behind by Thomas Briggs, who had really not many places to go. Razzo is going to finish off in 12th place, but he's going to drop a bit. We'll take a look here as we have the rest of the drivers finishing. This is how important the blocking is. Small mistake in front by Oring, great drive off for the exit, and now cover everything.
Well, and not only that, but he's still trying to squirm the power down, and I do feel for Razzo right here in the 83 because he was caught up in the middle of that accordion, and yeah, he was in the back of O-Ring in front of him, but ultimately he definitely got turned from behind as well.
Yeah, there was definitely an opportunity for him to try and make that move, but I think everyone just jumped up upon each other and there was nowhere really to go. Let's get confirmation then of results here from what was an incredible race outright. Aaron Smith gets it done. 30 minutes, 43 seconds. He wins by half a second over Nathan Olson, who started P12 in this one, all the way up into second. Andy Trupiano and Jake King are third and fourth, with Michael Janney then in P5. Sixth belonging to Patrick Hingston, as the field just ticks over then in towards the 5-minute heat that went through. The top 10 would be rounded out then as Aiden Young, Nicholas Rice-Puto, Ethan O-Ring, and Thomas Briggs making up the result then of that top 10. Joey, forget everything that's happened in race one. These drivers now need to reset. The grid is an invert all, so they will flip it all the way around. So Aaron Smith will be the 28th driver in this field, and it will be those drivers who are up there near the front who will now be saying, you know what, we've got to go for it. Connor Henry will be on the front of this race.
I think the only nice change of pace right now, Jake, is the drivers have a couple minutes to maybe even catch their breath after the first one, kind of re-strategize. And you're right, if you're one of these drivers that I would consider was in that group of that top 5, top 7 breakaway, you got to be patient. We saw how many cars are on this racetrack. We saw how difficult it is to pass. You cannot go barging your way through like nobody exists on the racetrack. You have to be patient. You have to let the race come to you.
You really do. And they've got the same amount of time as they had done in the opening race, but the difference is they're going to have to be really patient over the opening 5 to 10 minutes, Joey. It is so easy on a reverse everyone race that all the quick drivers want to try and make those places and take all of those opportunities as fast as they can. The drivers who are a little bit slower are going to defend for everything they've got, because when are they else going to get that chance at the front? You get this weird mix of sometimes these reverse style races get very chaotic very quickly.
I think there's a couple points to what you just said there. You got the fast guys lined up in the back. So yeah, they want to make up as much time as possible right off the green flag. They're going to be aggressive. Now, it's not always that first lap. Like you were saying, Jake, it could also be 5 to 10 minutes into this race when that front pack actually starts to work its way up through the middle, and what was the slow pack is falling its way back through the middle. That is when real chaos can happen, because that's when you have the fastest drivers tripping over the slowest drivers.
And it's that trip over effect that we are expecting to see here around the Oulton Park circuit. Talk about drivers, though, who have made a really good impression on that opening race. I think you can't look past Nathan Olson and the drive that he's had. He's proven that he can go and make overtakes. Now he's just got to do it from further back, and he is primed and ready. He's done it once already here tonight. He can do it again.
I think you look at the top 2, right? Nathan Olson as well as Aaron Smith. Remember, Aaron was just sitting back there at the table. He was just being very, very polite, turning his lap times, waiting for his opportunity. So even though his race might not have been as exciting as Nathan Olson, he executed exactly as he needed to and ultimately walked away with the checkered flag. And now, if you want to look at just a raw performance and pace, yeah, that 39 car of Nathan Olson put on a show. Poor qualifying effort, drove up through the field, and if we're looking for any foreshadowing, he is the one that has the most passing experience going into the second race.
Yeah, and that second race is going to be rather important. There's going to be a number of drivers here who've got themselves, I would say, a decent starting position, who might be able to jump through the field, who didn't necessarily have the best run of things when it came to that race. I'm looking at Thomas Bellarmin as one of those drivers. I'm also looking at Zachary Mertes as another one who might be a driver to keep an eye out on. If you get a driver who's out of position, who can get to the front quickly, Joey, often it becomes the challenge of, can you catch that one quick driver back through?
We've talked about track position earlier, and you're right. If you can get out there in clean air, you pretty much turn off your black box. You turn off your mirror, and you just act like it's a practice session. Go out there and turn consistent laps, and oftentimes that is enough to draw away from the field, because that field has everybody scrapping in it. Those lap times, they're not being efficient like what you can be in clean air.
Oh, you can definitely sense the force feedback from Zachary Mertis. At this point, you can see his whole body shake with how much force is going underneath him through the road and every single bump that's being picked up, Joey.
And, you know, each driver is going to tune their equipment differently. I think this series in particular, Jake, because the drivers aren't really known of what car and track combination, they have to be on top of not only learning that for the practice laps, but also tuning their equipment to best drive and also be familiar with what they are with.
Yeah, and there is Matthew Rohrer, who didn't have the best start. He's got the samurai blade there in the back, just as a port of call. If it goes wrong, well, you might as well slash this car up and say, no, it's not going to work for me. So these drivers now looking to get themselves gridded up then for this next one. Do not expect the front 5 rows to really get that much use of this one or front 3 rows to get that much use, because they are going to wait. So these drivers here, front 4, it's going to be those that you look at. About Connor Henry, I believe, is going to be where the start's going to be, with Aidan Meek and Matthew Rohrer. You then got Seth Aldretti and Thomas Bellamin, who is there, which makes up effectively row 5, as our grid shows. But this is going to be one where they're going to look at what they're doing and they want to push.
Be really, really interesting here, and just wait for all of these cars to get gridded up, and 30 minutes, the same time period. I can't wait to see kind of the chaos, Jake. Honestly, the first race, it was so well-mannered.
Well, everyone's nice to begin with, but they also realize, Joey, there are no more opportunities outside of tonight to make this car and track combination work. They are very much locked into all the points that I can get are relinquished in this race. So you can imagine, yes, I'll be nice. I can pick and cherry pick my points to get as much as I can in race 1. Race 2, gloves off. You're on the table. You're scrapping for what you can.
Well, and also the bonus points. Remember, Michael Janney was, good enough to get 5 bonus points. Jake King was up there for the 4 bonus points in the qualifying effort. So I feel like those drivers, they have a little bit something extra in their back pocket that they can kind of lean back on.
Yeah, and it's those points, those bonus points, which are going to add up as the season goes on, Joey. You talk about how important it is to maximize every single point that you can. You're talking about over the course of a season here, if you get 3 pole positions, that's an extra 15 championship points. 15 championship points is saying, right, all I've done is qualify the car, and I've already guaranteed myself a 3rd place finish for my efforts.
Well, let's just look at Michael Janney, right? Pole position, so that is 5 points already to his name, not even counting the points from the actual first race. 5 points is a 10th place finish. So even if he didn't finish this second race at all, he pretty much has 2 points finishes already. Same thing with Jake King and everybody else who qualified inside of that top 5. They just have those extra points. Kind of consider them like playoff points.
Absolutely, gives yourself a little extra buffer that goes out there, and it is so important to get the result that they are looking for, because over the course of 3 racing weeks worth of action, they are looking to try and book themselves as an automatic entry with PT Autosport, an automatic entry, which I think is so crucial to the PT Autosport Aspiring Driver Shootout. It's the once-in-a-lifetime chance for diverse juniors to chase their racing dreams. No experience required. And that, I think, is so important here. These drivers are looking for that direct ticket. It's like going to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory and saying, I've won a golden ticket, I get to go and do all of that.
It's pretty cool to be able to bridge the gap between the virtual world and the real world. I've been very fortunate to have a career in professional motorsports, and then be fortunate enough to come over here in the sim racing world and be able to help explain things as well. So it's cool to see others pick up that torch, help kind of bridge that gap between the virtual world and the real world. It's a great platform, and really the more that you talk about it, the more that you can draw the parallels with go-karting and sim racing. You look at the price of a go-kart rig versus a sim rig, it's about the same. But depending on where you live, Jake, you might not be able to go-kart 12 months out of the year. That sim rig that's in your room or in your basement, you can use it whenever you want to.
You absolutely can. There is the entrance gate to the circuit then, as we will take ourselves then down to the circuit and have a look at these drivers getting themselves gridded up then on the run to the water tower, on the clay hill, and getting themselves ready and situated for this racing. It is, of course, 30 minutes once more that they will have to deal with. The rolling start should mitigate some of the issues that they have had earlier on in this race, or what we'd expect to see. But you're also looking at drivers going, well, what can I gain out of this? How much more can I push forward, and how many overtakes can I make? And on a very narrow circuit like this, we've seen already in this race, sometimes when it gets late, you're going to go to the 50% move, the 30% move, the 10% move to try and get it done.
Well, what I'm noticing also, Jake, is a lot of these drivers that didn't fare so well in the first race are actually not gridded up. So that is a huge thank you from everybody in the back of this field. That is just free positions. But the point that I wanted to make, I think our first race biggest mover was about plus 15 positions gained. That's going to be tough if you're Nathan Olson still trying to get points.
So no Aiden Meek off of the front row of this grid. So that's going to mean that Connor Henry is going to be looking behind. It will be Matthew Rohrer who will be the first initial challenge. That will be there. You also look around at Seth Aldretti. He's going to look to get a very nice launch off of this start too. So as they pace behind the Porsche iRacing first safety car, they are now in a position where they are looking for 30 minutes worth of racing. This is going to be about who can survive to tell the tale to head to the middle rounds, rounds 3 and 4 of this 6-race format that they'll be going through. Race 2 about to put itself into position. Green flag is in the air and the pace set behind Connor Henry. Here we go for racing. Immediately 3 wide, big troubles in the background. It's a huge junk up.
I can report Jake King was involved in that one. It happened right about in the 20th place position. I think I see Ethan O-Ring also involved in that one. Huge stack up right off of the green flag.
Nicholas Rice-Puto, I think, was caught up in it too. So just like that, they started checking up, and there it was. Multiple drivers getting caught trying to go through. I think it actually happened around Benjamin Forster.
And then there was another huge incident. I see Michael Polasek involved in this one. The 83 got into him. The 395, the 427. There is all sorts of chaos going on, Jake.
Yeah, that was down. Then the avenue in towards then Denton's and the chicanes that go through, and it might just get a little bit worse here as they exit this section. Too many places to look as they go through. This is what happened then with Polasek, who were basically having to jump everywhere you look. Look at that, sideways down the hill is never ideal. And Aaron Smith jumps out the way through the grass. He's so lucky he's still pointing in the right direction.
Well, there's more problems coming out of some of these tight corners. I think the most patient one, Michael Janney, you see the car stopped here in the first chicane. So just so much, and more problems, even more stuff here in the second chicane. Holy smokes, Jake, cars going everywhere around the tire bundles trying to avoid.
Oh, it's absolute madness off of this first start here. They've got under reverse conditions, and that we weren't expecting, or maybe we were, but not to the extent that we have. Look at them. It's very much a case of we're going to see a couple modified by the end of this race, but out in front, it is Alexandro Vielma who leads this one, and he's got the lead over Matthew Rohrer in second. William Augustine finds himself up in third, with Thomas Bellarmine in fourth position. So those drivers have made the best jumps off the start. Patrick Hingston started sixth last, and he's now in sixth.
It's crazy right now. We were talking about the chaos, the people tripping over themselves. I see Michael Janney all the way off the course right now after he had to give a time slowdown penalty. This is the biggest shakeup, and the grid reversal usually does this, but holy smokes.
Well, it's everyone now trying to battle for every place they can. And here's the little then as Michael Odell finds himself with Nathan Olsen. Olsen's done well off of the start. He's already up into 8th position. He's maybe the main challenger to Patrick Hingston in terms of moving forward, gaining places, keeping out of trouble. It's what I like to call here, Joey, landmine avoidance.
And you see Michael Odell right behind him with a smashed up front end. You were saying we might have some late models by the end of this as we're going to go side by side. Nathan Olsen just so confident in the performance that he can get out of this machine.
Yeah, sweeps around the outside and was always going to be given there by Zachary Mertis. So not much that can be done there. Olsen will jump another one, and now we'll look to try and reach that next group in the train, which is currently being headed up by Matthew Rohrer, who spent the majority of that opening race a couple of laps down. Here's the move from Alejandro Razzo to the inside, trying to get it one at the lodge, but that's going to only mean Rohrer trying to defend that position goes straight on, and everybody's now going to jump by him down the depression and up the hill.
Yeah, and when you lose that momentum, it is tough to get it back. I know you think almost 700 horsepower will just put your foot down, but when you are pushed out of position, it is so tough to get that track position back. Riding on board with this yellow number 70, Aaron Smith trying to squeeze his way up a few more positions.
Down the hill into the Cascades, and there's going to be a car off in front of him there. That's going to be Zach Mertis here, who's going to have to try and find a way to get back on. It's full cross-country, it's rallycross mode.
Yeah, and Ethan O-Ring just kind of along the caboose in the train. He is going up forward in terms of positions. It is continuing to be busy. Only lap 3. Jake, we haven't even had 5 minutes of this race.
We haven't had 5 minutes, and we've still got 25 of them left, and there's still amazing recoveries. Don't count Jake King out of this one. Still can't find a way past Michael Odell, who's been going backwards, and you guessed it, backwards, well done. But this has been the sort of race where Jake King has basically had to adapt from minute 0 of this one. He's found himself backwards in the opening section of the track, and now he's really trying to scrap and claw his way back in. He's basically acting as a lightweight boxer who's just been punched in the nose by a heavyweight.
Well, and, you know, I'm happy that we're highlighting him because, remember, it was Jake King and Michael Janney in race number 1. Well, Michael Janney didn't get turned around on the opening lap here. Jake King did, but Jake, 12th place. You got to go all the way back to 20th to find Michael Janney, so almost a blessing in disguise.
Oh, Janney's still making moves. He wants a way past the 11 here. That's Aidan Crawford. He's trying to get the move done on, and he hits the brakes into the lodge. And can he get that one done on the exit? It's not guaranteed here. Crawford's giving him a good go at this one. They'll have to sort this one out by Old Hall Corner. And Janney really scrapping to try and find any sort of angle here in towards number 1 here. And at Old Hall, well, he'll get it done, but for how much longer? Because the up and under tries to be thrown, and there's a look down the Cascade, trying to get it sorted, but Janney finally scores that pass complete.
And I think Janney was saying, hey, you know what, I passed you, I got you covered off, just kind of tag along and we'll work our way through the field, but championship points. Oh, there's a big turn. That is, I believe, Thomas Belleman being turned around.
That was Patrick Hingston who gave him the turn, so they're hooking the quarter panel. Belleman finds himself pointing the wrong way, not the plan he wanted in his race for 5th position. Look, he's sliding into the corner initially, so he's struggling to try and get any grip. He's loose coming off of the exit, and Hingston drives through it.
Yeah, it definitely drove through him there. You could see him just struggling for whatever forward drive he could find. He couldn't find any of it.
Keep an eye out on the front of this field as Polasek now will try and deal with Belleman, who is still on the inside here at Knickerbrook Corner and trying to get that sorted, but he's going to have to lose out with a very, very loose Chevrolet Impala at this point. Alessandro Vielma does lead, but watch out. Nathan Olsen is now up to 3rd, and it's now William Augustine who's having to play defense.
It is a pair of white cars. It is Nathan Olsen in 3rd place right now, William Augustine in 2nd place. Looks like Nathan Olsen's going to go to the inside here in turn number 1. Already clears Augustine, so he will pick up that 2nd place. I think I'm looking at everything. You look at qualifying. Poor effort from Nathan Olsen. Drove through the field in race number 1. He's got to be the favorite to win this thing once he gets by Vielma.
Yeah, he's driven through this field with absolute I would say, bravery. He's done so well. And let's not forget here, Joey, he has a damaged front left as wide off the road. Why don't you give him a freebie for the race lead? Let's do that. Alexandro Vielma with the mistake through the lakeside bend.
The easiest pass you can make is a competitor making a mistake, and that is exactly what just got handed to Nathan Olson. Now, turn everything off. You were the fastest car on track. Just keep doing that.
And now, here comes the look from Augustine up the hill, trying to find and manage that overtake. If he can get himself an angle forward here at Hislops to get the move sorted, that not quite happening at this point. Now, it's a case of how much of a gap can you make to the likes of Hingston, to Aaron Smith and co. Those drivers are going to want to try and jump through. Trupiano's another one. Those are your main contenders that you're looking at. Every point you can get is a major boon at this point.
And we're not even a third of the way through. Remember, this is a total different group, a total different crop of drivers at the front. They are driving differently. I can't wait to see how the tire wear affects these different groups in this second race.
1, 2, 3 is the car giving chase at the moment. Benjamin Forster all the way to the outside, looking for a way to get past Aidan Crawford. This is down in 18th position at this moment in time. This isn't even for championship points, as they now jam on the binders, looking for a run at the Lodge, up and then down. So easy to spin the car over to the right-hand side, up over the Dearly, and then onto a lap on the Old Hall corner here, trying to find that open opportunity. It's not there as they slide through, or it will be, because Crawford slightly misses his point and runs wide.
Just couldn't have the front end hook it into the apex. Aidan Crawford in that number 11 just opened the door. Benjamin Forrester said, thank you very much. I will take that 17th. You mentioned not even for championship points. Michael Janney just up the road looking for something, but even then, he's still about 5-6 seconds back from anything that'll score him something.
Yeah, well, he's got the position, so that's crucial. So he makes the pass from Thomas Bellarmine and moves up into 15th. But Michael Polasek is currently the gatekeeper to championship points in this second race, and he's trying to hold on to Rice Puto. He's looking at Mertis, he's looking at Odell, Trupiano, King. Everybody has now finally taken the 10 minutes here, Joey, and they've settled.
They have settled, and one thing that hasn't settled is the battle for second place. Remember, Vielma, he's the one that's sitting there in that white number 28 car. Well, Augustine, Razzo, Hingston, Aiden Young, Aaron Smith in this yellow number 70. Remember, he won race number 1. Whoa! Well, he has now joined the party.
Look at that! Danny inside, there's a little bit of contact. I'm not sure that, and Alexandro Vielma, who is up there in second position, I'm not sure he had a Scooby-Doo, whether that move was going to be done or not. But Augustine finds out that he went for the absolute Hail Mary move in the background. Aiden Young picks Patrick Hingston's pocket, and he may soon be followed by Aaron Smith II.
Yeah, I noticed that Hingston was a little shy entering turn 1 there. Definitely let that black and yellow number 427 through, and now Aaron Smith in the all-yellow car also trying to find his way around. But one thing you don't see on screen, Nathan Olson has checked out.
5 seconds to the good already. Vielma is the legitimate cork in the bottle in terms of this race. You talk about how difficult it is to get past. Vielma has done a very, very good defensive effort of his opening 10 minutes. He very quickly got to the front on the opening lap, Carnage, and he has done so well to keep some very accomplished drivers behind.
And I think that if you are in the shoes of Jake King, right, who's back there in 9th place. Oh, there's a mistake out of the 28. Can he keep everybody behind? Oh, the 83 gets spun off the nose of the 427. So definitely some shakeup already happening.
Yeah, that's Alejandro Razzo, who finds himself turned around, and he finds himself with the concertina as they all look to try and find an angle, nowhere to go. That was Aiden Young into the back of him. So watch this here. Everybody checks. Unsighted, really, there for the 427.
It's called an accordion effect. It stretches out, and then all of a sudden it compresses. You can't often see what happens in the middle or at the front, and all of a sudden you are into the back end of the car.
And that's how quickly you can find yourself from 4th position in this race, demoted down to 8th place and dealing with Jake King, who is there in 9th, trying to really mastermind some points out of this. Another little look then, trying to find something down through Denton's and into the Cascades. William Augustine looking for the move. I tell you what, Aiden Young is very much up for this one here in the 427. He is very aggressive and looking for a move. He will get the pivot here, move to the right-hand side, but he doesn't have one thing and one thing only. We don't talk about it too much here at Alternates, the slipstream. He doesn't care. He'll go to the inside and steal that one away.
Yeah, and then he covers it off in the brake zone. A nice move from that black 427. You can usually tell who's the more aggressive drivers by just looking at the front end.
Yeah, you absolutely can. There is also through Aaron Smith and a little bit of side-by-side between Augustine and Oring, as Hingston will also pick a pocket or two as he will make his way forward in the early phases of December. Look at the moves. Oh, this is fantastic. Contact side-by-side as they go through. Aiden Young is throwing all caution to the wind, and he is saying, I will pass with everything. Come on, look at all the support that he's got. He wants every single thing that he can possibly get out of it.
Yeah, you just got to be careful. You have to drive within everybody's limit, make sure not to punt anybody off the racetrack, and it looks like everything going okay so far. But look at Aaron Smith in the yellow number 70. He's going to peek up to the inside here. He's going to try to take away that second spot or third spot.
Oh, there we go. Somehow, some way, no one else gets caught up. Watch Hingston here in the red 5. He is going to find his way through. A red 5 like Nigel Mansell. He will easily make that place.
Yeah, and just a little bit of tripping over each other. I was going to make the point that Jake King is the one loving what Vielma is doing. Remember, got spun around on that opening green flag, but he is in the mix. Aiden Young and Aaron Smith going side by side again.
Aaron Smith had 2 tyres in the grass. He is absolutely living dangerously at this point, and now he'll look behind because there is Ethan Oring. There is looking to be a pivot then for number red 5, that Patrick Hingston, but there is still Smith side by side. They are going to duel it here to the Shell Oils corner. Advantage always to the driver on the inside through this section. Almost a turn over the quarter panel there, and that will demote down. More places, not ideal there for Ethan Oring. He's now behind Jake King.
Yeah, but Aaron Smith continues to kind of work his way forward, single car by single car. Same thing with Jake King up into that 7th place. Those are valuable points and plenty of cars with only halfway through this race.
And all of a sudden, 2nd through 14th here, Joey, are split by 6 seconds.
Well, not only that, but 13 seconds to our leader here. It has just been crazy what Nathan Olson is doing. I want to keep the camera right here on this red number 5 of Patrick Hingston, because between himself, Aiden Young, I feel like these are the 2 more aggressive drivers at the front.
They absolutely are. Big wiggle there from Vielma. Opens the door up for Hingston to search to that inside at the lodge. Can you run it around the outside? No, 28 slides it, saves it, but it's going to lose one out here. Battles door to door there with Aiden Young, who's going to pick a way around and gets turned.
Yeah, he got turned around there, and now more chaos, more contact. I'm not sure which white car this is. Looks like William Augustine that was collected in it.
Yeah, absolutely heartbreaking for Augustine, who gets himself absolutely thrown on the front stretch and in turn has to take a tow. GSRC replay, look at that, just gets turned over the front nose. And when you get all these drivers bottled up and frustrated, it's like putting them all in a cage.
Well, and, you know, I can't fault Aiden for anything he did here. It was just a stack up. You know, the cars really wander as they come up the hill here. You see them side by side, and the 28 definitely wanders up the racetrack into the quarter panel of the black 427, but these cars just don't have any grip when they're coming up over the crest like that. It's part of the racing.
It absolutely is. So this is the view then from Augustine. Sees the slides in front, and we'll see here that as they go through, you got to leave a little bit more room on the inside, and then just takes the tap, hits the tank slapper, nowhere to go. Augustine is a bystander in someone else's incident.
Just like that, it can get collected up, and I think the name that's surprising me, not this car that is 14 seconds out front, it's our 4th place runner, Jake King, in this red number 52. Look, he's got the podium just in front of him.
He absolutely does, and he is flying, but there is Jake King, of course, in that 4th position. He wants to make moves, but there are drivers behind who are profiteering off of everyone else's mistakes. All of that has put Michael Janney in the points now, so he's now looking at Rice Puto for position. Razzo just losing one out to Trupiano there just behind. Trupiano making good moves now. He's up to 6th.
Trupiano hanging on right now. We were talking about the cork in the bottle. Well, it seems like this black number 97 is the new cork in the bottle. He's got Razzo, Vielma. Oh, and penalties, like you're saying, Jake.
Yeah, Michael Polasek, Aiden Young. I believe Odell's got a penalty at some point as well. Yes, Michael Odell does have the black flag shown. Remember, every 20 incident points, you're going to pick one up. And they've only picked them up in 80 minutes. So that's over an instant point a minute.
You know, it's not short course off-road racing, but it's pretty close.
It is very close. You've got to be so alert in a race like this. There is 52. Look at it on there in front of him. That's for 2nd and for 3rd. Hingston versus Smith. And Patrick Hingston did very well, got 6th position. Of course, Aaron Smith knows exactly what 3rd place is like. The last time he was here was, last race, which he won.
Yeah, and he just took advantage of everything that dropped into his lap. So now he's going to have to get it done. He is going to have to pass this red number 5 of Patrick Hingston. And in case Aaron Smith didn't know who's in front of him, well, Patrick was nice enough to paint it right there on the wing for him.
Absolutely. It says Hingston. You cannot miss that in terms of the way that it is written. But here comes another little look to that inside, and Aaron Smith, the 2nd, can't do much. The traffic spins in front. That's going to cause concern. Bottlenecked up. Hingston went the wrong way. Up and over. I believe that's Rora. Tap goes to Jake King as well. So Rora causes a huge bottleneck then. As he tries to get out of the way, he hits someone else.
Michael Janney also involved in it. He tried to get off driver's right, smacked the wall over here, and at this point, you probably just need to hit that escape button. So unfortunate. You're going to see Patrick Hingston, this red number 5, the 2nd car in line, just picked the wrong way.
Yeah, just stopped, held the brakes, which is the right thing to do. But
Target
then
fixation.
you still got to hold the brakes. Even though you're trying to stay out of the way, everyone's trying to go through, you have to wait. And Michael Janney just chooses wrong.
Yeah, that's that second part you're talking about, 100%. Janney didn't know the car was going to back up. He was avoiding at that point, but this is what I was talking about. This is Hingston. I think this is a little bit of target fixation. You're watching the spin in front of you, and you just drive to where your eyes are looking.
Yeah, he tries to commit late, realizes he's not going to get there on the inside. Wrong call, and then he has to take to the pits because he also goes over 20 incidents.
When it rains, it pours, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and that's what iRacing's no-fault system is all about, is that both drivers are very liable for incidents out there. Everyone trying to jump out of the way there. That is Rice Puto in trouble. He is crabbing like crazy, trying to serve his slow down penalties and co. He's not happy, and Thomas Bellarmine, another driver who's just jumped over 20.
I think the one that is kind of maybe still catching his breath right now is we're watching this number 7 car of Rice Puto continue to fall through. I believe that was Benjamin Forster that just picked up that position, but it's Michael Janney. Remember, he's had so many problems earlier in this race. He finds himself in 8th, collecting points. He's got a position that's just up the road in front of him. It's not over yet for him.
Listen, this is the key in terms of Michael Janney's season as he now looks to try and find a way past a little bit of traffic out there. That, of course, is Kevin Chabot, the Canadian, that he gets by. They don't ask you how you get your points, Joey. They just ask you at the end of the season how many points you got.
Well, and you look at how bright it was looking after qualifying for Janney and really the first 25 minutes of race number 1. But look at who's in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Nathan Olson, Aaron Smith, Jake King. These are all going to be championship contenders. And right now, I mean, I'd have to do the rough math. They're all going to outscore Michael Janney at the end of today.
They absolutely are. And Michael Janney then will be scrapping from the back foot, heading to round 2 of the championship, wherever it may be, and in whatever car it will be driven in. That is going to be his port of call. There's Polasek in trouble in the 45 car. He finds himself turned around, not at the nicest place, on the inside there of the Cascades.
I'm going through timing and scoring, and compared to the first race, oh, more problems for Polasek here. He hangs on to it, a big old wag of the tail, but was able to manage to save it, keep it on the racetrack. But we don't have these big giant trains like we saw in race number 1. I think throughout all the chaos, things have kind of spread out a little.
Yeah, there is a lot more, I would say, diversity of space in this race, and it's shown with 7.5 minutes and under left to go. The 64 machine looking for a move. That is Ethan Oring with Alejandro Razzo at this moment up the hill. Now, this group might get a little bit more chaotic as it goes through, because Razzo and Oring will see Vielma, and we'll also see Michael Janney there. Those two drivers, I think, especially Michael Janney would absolutely love it if he could get past those three drivers by the end of the race, get to P5, cut his losses and say, I did everything I could with the hand that was dealt to me.
It's going to be pretty tough. I'm looking at the lap times, 43.1 from this number 92 car that we're riding on board with right now. So if you want to get up to 5th, it is about 3.5 seconds up the road, and Razzo's lap time was a 43.4. So not that much of a delta difference between these cars. I think Janney's going to have to get around Vielma and just hope for anything after that.
Well, hope is a very, very strong racing initiative that we've seen out there, absolutely clattering over the curbs, getting a wonderful run here up the hill. But does he slide a little bit, and how much is he walking wounded in this race? Remember, that car is not 100% at this moment in time, and I doubt there are many cars out there at this moment, as many Chevrolet Impalas, that are going to be fit and functional to drive out of here once this race is complete.
Well, and I'm not sure what happened, but something with Razzo and O-Ring this lap. They are well off the pace. They lost about 3 seconds somewhere on this lap. So all of a sudden, this group between Vielma, Janney and company, they are closing it in on more potential championship points.
Well, it's Razzo. It's Razzo's mistake at Britain's. He overshot it and absolutely tried to keep the car on the island. And as such, it has completely chalked this group back up again here, Joey.
It's all up for game now. So the bad
penalty.
day. Just Janney being gifted some more points here. I believe this is Razzo having to come in, serve that penalty, so move Janney up into the 7th place position. And he's also going to take away it from Vielma, now up into 6th.
He's done it around the outside of turn 1, nevertheless. That is absolutely incredible in terms of the move there from Michael Janney. So he threw caution to the wind, and Alexandro Vielma had nothing for it. So a magical, magical move, which we'll see here with the GSRC replay.
You see Janney in the white and turquoise car. He's on the outside of Vielma in turn 1 here, just sticks it around. You can use a little bit of that grass on the exit, which he does appropriately, puts the power down and claims the position.
Look, one of the keys there around that section of road is that there is a bit of that Astro-style runoff that you get at that opening section. While it is grass, you do have that extra bit of protection that's there, which allows you to drive on that a little bit more, that little bit of rubber. That gives you a little bit more extra, and that is crucial. There is your race leader with 4 minutes and 20 seconds left in this race. Nathan Olsen, he can stop for a picnic if he wants to and still win this race.
You want to know how dominant this car has been here today. Not only is he driven out to 16 seconds out front, he is also the only car to turn a 1 minute 39 second lap time out of all of the 28 competitors.
Oh, you think that he will know where to slow down, but you also get this understanding with drivers, Joey, that if you do anything less than 100%, you'll spin it.
You don't talk to him. You don't tell him anything. Just keep telling him, do laps, do what you're doing. Don't change anything.
Absolutely not. You do not want to change. You do not want to let anything fall the wrong side of it. We've still got great battling going on as Zachary Mertis has actually got himself in a great scrap for some of the minor points here out there. Look at it. There's 5 of them all there. Vielma, Forster's there. Hingston's trying to recover back. If Hingston can somehow manage 7th position in this race with a penalty to boot as well, my word, what a recovery that is.
That would be a great drive from Hingston as you watch Vielma just try to reel back in Mertis right in front of him. And I want to give credit to Vielma here. We've called him the cork in the bottle several times, but he has driven a tremendous race, one without many mistakes at all. He's kept it on the track. He has done his pace out there, and right now it's good enough for 8th place. You look at his fastest lap time, it should be all the way down there outside the top 15, so a fantastic job from Vielma.
Exactly, and that's the key. If he can come out of today with a top 10 finish in this second race, he will be over the moon with that performance, and he has driven wonderfully. Red 5 there will certainly try and find a way through. Patrick Hingston is searching for it, and you've got Benjamin Forster, who is looking for points as well. Now, he finished 11th in the opening race. He's currently classified in this one down in 10th, so very consistent. He'll be about on 8 or 9 points.
And you see the 28 car really squirm around, searching for that traction, trying to save all of those points that you were talking about. That red number 5 of Hingston, all in the mirror. The black 123 of Forster also in it. They all squirm for traction.
They're all looking for somewhere to put down the ultimate power of that engine wide through turn 1. Here goes the chance then, and it's not going to be for Forster. Now they're going to battle here, mirror to mirror, down the hill through towards the Cascades. Beautifully done. Patrick Hingston finds himself the move that puts him up into 8th place with that pass. While that's all happening, Janny's got his eyes set on 5th here. He's catching Ethan Oring.
Yeah, he is in the mood to try to take away another position, but I love what I'm seeing out of Vielma. Hingston made that fantastic move, but guess what? Vielma didn't go in with his hair on fire in the next lap or the next corner. Just great respect out of that number 28 car. I really enjoy what I'm seeing.
I'm enjoying everything that I'm seeing in this race. This has been crazy, but it also has felt like a race that, although it's 30 minutes, has also felt like it's gone 30 hours, and there's still so much more left to go through. Janny is wringing the neck out of it, but there is the white flag lap starting for Nathan Olsen. He's been a class of his own this week when it's come to racing here at Oulton Park.
You were saying 30 hours. Could you imagine 30 hours inside of one of these cars, Jake?
I can. Can you?
It would be something else to witness, but I think, really, you look at the big picture of today, Nathan Olsen came in here. We didn't even talk about him in qualifying, and he has stolen away the show in both of these races.
He has said that it's his agenda and he will follow it. As he runs through the Shell Oils corner, he has Michael Polasek there just behind, a driver who many would think after his 5th place in qualifying that he would be one of the drivers that you would circle up to say, I want to be a favourite for this championship. He has been put a lap down in this race, and that is a huge statement from Nathan Olsen and what he wants to do today and what he wants to do over the course of this season. This PT Autosports eSeries has a brand new star, and he is writing his name in light as he passes Knickerbrook Corner and rushes up the Clay Hill, looking for the final couple corners on what has been a sensational hours cumulative worth of racing. At Druids, Nathan Olsen has proven that he knows how to overtake his way through the field. He will know that he will have 4 more races over the course of this season, and as the premier overtaking king, as he goes through, Nathan Olsen will smile through the lodge, will take a massive jump over the deer leap, and will win on this incredible night, day, every part of racing he can possibly imagine. He has dominated.
Well, second in race number 1, winning race number 2. Just flip-flop them because the yellow number 70 of Aaron Smith is going to cross the line in 2nd place position. So a tremendous points battle already shaping up. Jake King, who had the worst imaginable start, still winds up on the podium.
And Joey, here's the thing to remember. Aaron Smith qualified his car in 4th position.
Yep.
He walks out number 70 without the plaudits but the championship lead.
Oh, I mean, huge day to fall back on those qualifying points, plus a double podium effort, really pulling away from anybody else. It's got to feel good.
It's got to feel incredible. Some brilliant drives then heading towards the end. That's going to be as close could be there between Michael O'Dell and Alejandro Razzo. There, Razzo, I think, just getting that one over the line. As the last of the drivers, Henry and Young, are looking to make their progress through as well. And they will be the final drivers who are looking for their finish here today. There's your race winner. That, of course, is going to be Nathan Olsen. We're going to step aside for just one moment here with the Global Sim Racing Channel. When we come back, post-race fallout will be with you after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to your PT Autosports eSeries here. The opening two races, the opening round has found itself conducted after what was some amazing action that got itself scored, completed. You could not ask for anything better in terms of how it went through. In terms of race two, it was simply sensational. The two drivers, 1 and 2, in race number 1, flipped their positions. Nathan Olsen found himself with an acre of space here at Oulton Park Circuit. He won by 17 seconds when all things were said and done, with Aaron Smith taking second position. Jake King would round out in third with Andy Trupiano fourth. Ethan Oring would finish fifth with Michael Janney in sixth position, which would lead to Patrick Hingston's seventh place. Zachary Mertis, Benjamin Forster, and Alexandro Vielma would round out the top 10, Joey.
Yeah, and then you have Nicholas Resputo in 11th place, Trey Drawhorn finishing in 12th, Alejandro Razzo in 13th, Cam Jordan, your final points finisher, in 14th place, Aiden Crawford, after his penalty, finishes in 15th. Aiden Young, was the penalty, finishing in 16th. Connor Henry back there in 17th. Thomas Briggs in 18th. Michael Polasek, your first car, one lap down, finishing in 19th. And Anton Schopler in 20th.
Michael O'Dell would also be a lap down along with Kevin Charbot. Then you had, of course, Matthew Rohrer, Thomas Bellarmine. There, as you can see, there are your race results up there on your screen from those 11 through 20. Thomas Bellarmine also getting in trouble here today. So too William Augustine not finishing the race. Jacob Rusa and Seth Aldretti also not managing to find a finish here from this race at the Alton Park Circuit, the international variant. We're going to have a chance, though, to talk to some of our drivers. Why not start first and foremost with the championship leader heading out of today? That's Aaron Smith II, stood by with Joey Atterbury.
Well, Aaron Smith, congratulations on a double podium today.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I certainly wasn't expecting it to go that well. I knew I would have a good shot at it with this car when it was announced, but the track was certainly a wild card, so I'm glad it played out as well as it did.
So let's talk about that win in race number 1. It seemed like you were plenty content hanging out there in third place while the racing was going on in front of you, and then it just got handed to you. Is that what happened?
Yeah, pretty much. I couldn't really find any speed in the chicanes the way that the front two were, but I figured with how they were looking in those last few laps, someone would get into somebody, and fortunately they spun out of my way, and I was able to bring it home. But forgot who it was in second. Whoever that was in second certainly made it difficult there. He was the quickest all night, and he got the win in the second race, unfortunately. But it was a fun race all around.
How chaotic was it out there for race number 2? Starting way at the back, we saw all sorts of action on the first lap, and being one of the fastest drivers out there, you have to display patience. What was that like?
Yeah, it was a little frustrating at times. I wanted to keep the car as clean as possible, and there were a few points where I gave a little too much and didn't really do much taking. But once I got to the guys through from second to 10th, I had to start taking a little more because they were throwing haymakers at me there on my way through there. But fortunately, I kept it straight and was able to bring it home P2.
Well, a really good qualifying effort gave you some bonus points. A double podium after today should mean you're in that championship points lead. Anybody you want to give a thanks to?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the folks at the Global SimRacing Channel for putting this broadcast up, all the folks at PT Autosport for putting this league up. I'm looking forward to seeing what combo we run next week.
Well, that was the driver of the number 70, Aaron Smith II, coming home with a double podium and bonus points from qualifying today.
Yeah, you can't really ask for much better of a performance for him. The counterpart to him in terms of today's racing was Nathan Olsen, who's stood by with me right now. Nathan, you walked into today, a qualifying effort of 12th position, absolutely as quiet as can be, under the radar. In the space of an hour and about 15 minutes, you have simply turned the PT Autosport eSeries on its head. What incredible driving from you. Talk us through your two races.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean the qualifying I messed up. I was like the first two laps I was already down like 7/10. So I was just like, okay, I'll keep it clean, no off tracks, just to get a position. And I don't really know what to expect because obviously these cars no one races these cars, no one races a car on the track, that sort of thing. So I just kind of going into it with an open head, right? And throughout the first race, I found that people were braking a little early. I felt like I could outbrake people, so I started to pass people. And I also thought that me starting 12th in the first race helped me with the second race. Once I got to second, with the help of some crashes and that sort of thing, I felt comfortable with the car. And then with the second race, there was a whole lot of crashes. So I was like in 9th place or something by the end of the first lap. And it just went well for me, I guess. I just kind of stayed out of trouble. I did accidentally, I will have to say sorry to Jake. I did hit him in the rear on the start-finish straight. So that's the only thing, but I just felt comfortable with the car, and things just worked my way.
Things certainly did work your way. You managed to pull out a gap of 17 seconds, all things considered, in that second race. When you have the ability to jump through the carnage of that race too, and trying to get yourself out of trouble and try and really drive through the pack, is it for you just a case of keeping it on the track and just hope that you don't find yourself caught up in someone else's issues? Or for you, is it a case of just trying to find that gap and sneak away through? Is it a case of you being proactive or reactive when it comes to the scenario of the reverse grid?
I think it's reactive. You don't know what to expect with the reverse grid because you obviously have the fastest guys in the rear and the slowest guys in the front. So you don't know how they're going to react to each other. So I was just, whatever was in front of me is what I reacted to. I wasn't expecting anything on the second race. But once I got by everyone, I just kind of got into a flow, and there were still some fast guys passing people, so I got a good gap from them. But yeah, it really worked out because like I was just driving my line, driving my race, and then I would happen to catch up to people, and then I would be fast them. I could pass them where they would spin out. There's a lot of luck that went into that last race, but I'm glad that it happened.
In terms of what you're trying to get out of this series, everyone's trying to win this one, of course, book their place in the PC Autosport Aspiring Driver Shootout. What would it mean to you if you were able to get to race 3 of the championship or week 3, get through round 6, have that direct entry into the 12-person final? What would that mean to you, Nathan, in terms of getting that opportunity?
It would be just about the best opportunity I could ever get, right? Because the amount of money that you get from the Autosport, and then the connections and that sort of thing, the PT Autosport Aspiring Driver Series, it's really like what everyone dreams of having the ability to do. And so being in that, getting my spot in that will it'll be like the biggest, right? So I drove a GT4 with Muradness in Houston last month, which is currently the biggest opportunity that I was able to get. But if this happens and I'm able to also win that, then like my entire life's wants and my career and everything it'll just all fall into place. So that I'm really hoping that it could all work out. I mean, if it works like this race, amazing.
Floor is yours here, Nathan. Shout out sponsors or anyone you'd like to thank.
Yeah, I'll thank Muradness, everyone at Muradness, so Daniel Morad, Stu, Dion. They all helped me get better, and I went from 2K to 8K with all their help. I'd like to thank my dad. He got me the rig, and he helped me with just getting my foot in the sim racing door. And I'll thank Sim Racing Chicago as well. They allowed me to race real life in a Miata, so I'd like to thank all those guys.
Yeah, so no worries at all then. So for you, an incredible drive here today. You couldn't ask for much better. Nathan Olsen getting it done with a win and a second, and is slowly starting to make that progress. Will be second in the championship coming out of today. We're going to very quickly go through some quick fire interviews, just a couple questions each for a couple of these drivers. We're going to start with Aiden Young and his race stood by with Joey Atterbury.
Well, Aiden Young, it seemed like you had a very, very busy race. What was it like through your eyes?
Very hectic, but very, very fun. I think I misjudged a couple moves on some people, which resulted in me kind of finishing a little farther behind than what I would have wanted, but I still had fun working my way through the field and getting actually up to P2 at one point, so I can just take the highs from this race, go on to round 2, and hopefully do a bit better.
Well, speaking of taking what you can away from this race, it was very chaotic. When you look forward to the next rounds in the championship, what are you going to go in and focus on?
Probably getting my pace up a little bit more and trying to balance like my mental state when I'm racing, so I can stay more focused than talkative, because I tend to get a little talkative sometimes and it doesn't pay off.
Sometimes it is always about blocking everything out that's in your peripherals and really focusing on just the racing itself. And before I let you go, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, my dad for spotting me, and then my team for watching, cheer me on, and then my friends for also watching, but then kind of helping me with some of the prep, even though we didn't know what the car was going to be.
Well, that was Aiden Young coming home 16th today in race number 2.
Yeah, one of the drivers who maybe found himself on the wrong side of Lady Luck. Zach Mertis is the next driver who joins us here, having a very nice run there in race number 2. From race 1, it was 10th to 17th, Zach, but then over from 17th back up to recover then to 8th place. You can't really ask for too much of a week that you've had here at Oldham Park, especially with how crazy that race 2 was.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We had a really solid car, and I want to say thank you to my friend Josh Parent for spotting for me in both these races. And, I really struggled to get a grip with the car and the setup because I'm working at a bit of a disadvantage to all the other drivers. My pedals are very sensitive. They are very, very old, and they don't respond well to my throttle input, so it's very easy for me to slip up, so I have to be patient. I have to be steady. So it's just really great to see the improvement that we made over the course of the practice session, the qualifying session, and into the 2 races. We qualified 9th for the first race. Would have had a great start, but we ended up getting caught in a first lap incident, just how racing goes sometimes. Race number 2, we were able to actually make some progress. We got caught in some incidents as well, but we held steady and were able to keep moving forward. So hopefully, if things move in the right direction, you'll be seeing us hopefully closer to the front as these races go on.
With the unpredictable nature of not knowing what you're racing with or where you're racing from week to week, how does preparation work for you in terms of building everything together?
Really, it's just kind of doing a few different car and track combinations, things that you really wouldn't expect. High horsepower cars with technical sections and technical corners on the racetrack. It's one thing that helps us set up. We had really high horsepower cars and really technical tracks these last 2 races for the qualifying session and for race 1 and 2 so far. So I think moving forward, I'm going to start incorporating a lot more of it into my practice sessions throughout the week and being able to set myself up for, things to expect going forward in these races.
The formula is very much there for you. Zach Mertis there joining us, having an up and down day in terms of where racing went. Joey Atterbury very quickly has stood by with Alexandro Vielma, who really showed his pace today in race 2.
Alexandro Vielma, I thought you did an awesome job. Congratulations on the 10th place finish here today.
Thank you guys so much. Yeah, it was a phenomenal race. Definitely a lot to take out of. A lot of mistakes made towards the middle end segment, but we'll look back at those and see what we have to change for the next race for sure.
Just real fast, how did you feel that you fit this car and track combination? Did you feel it was strong for you, or do you have more to look forward to in the future?
Definitely a lot to look forward to for sure. This car and track combo, first time you're ever exposed to it, as a lot of drivers admit themselves, and it was definitely one of those things I really had to get to grips with. Driving the H pattern, heel toe shifting into these really tight spaces made racing in tight quarters pretty difficult. But yeah, with the style of this car how slidey it is, how loose on traction it is, it was super fun to drive, but a lot to learn from this car for sure.
Well, congratulations. I thought you did a tremendous job at running your pace. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Well, PT Autosport overall has been amazing in their ability to give opportunities to people like us who just want to get into the racing world, and allowing us to build upon ourselves and give ourselves a platform, sim racers, which is amazing. And obviously, I also want to give a huge shout out to everyone in this competition. I'm very humbled by the people I'm surrounded by, all these really fast and competitive people who put in hours into the sim to be able to compete here. So yeah, 100% to them.
That was the driver of the number 28. A fantastic run today, Alexandro Vielma.
And very quickly, our last driver we're going to take a chance to chat with is Connor Henry. Connor, race 1 didn't really go the way that you wanted to, but starting from the front in race 2, how much of a culture shock was it seeing all those drivers wanting to try and get by you as soon as possible?
It was very nerve-wracking, I guess, because I wasn't really adapting well to this situation with this stock car here at the track, and so it just kind of made it difficult for me because I knew that they were faster and wanted to get by. So I tried to let a few guys go by who I knew were faster, but then I just couldn't really adapt. So that was on me, but yeah.
Well, in terms of what you want then, in terms of recovering up through, gaining as many points as you can, what is your ideal car track combo?
I like GT3 cars, and I'm really good at Virginia and Daytona and Road Atlanta. So I guess tracks kind of like that, where there's long straights that you have a lot of speed, and you got to build up to get to that part of the out of the corner and get that speed out there.
Well, we hope that the lottery works for you in terms of that sense. Connor Henry there joining us, not having the day that he would necessarily desire out of the work that has been done for him today through round 1 and races 1 and 2. That will draw the curtain closed in terms of racing action then from the opener here at Oulton Park. Want to give a massive thank you to everyone who has worked on this one here today, from, of course, Joey, Bradley, and from Dougie. You can catch all of the equipment that has been used to put this fantastic broadcast together at a moment in time on screen, including the music here by June Lalonde. Her stuff is incredible. You can catch it on Bandcamp if you haven't already. There are so many more broadcasts that are going to be scrolling across your screen, including 2 more races of this series at a date and a time, which are going to be really, really important to try and get the most out of. Want to give also a massive thanks to the social media that we can go through, be it our Facebook, our X/Twitter. Of course, you can catch us on Discord, you can catch us on Twitch, and you can catch us on the Instagram as well. In terms of when we will next be looking around to race, that will be December 9th, which will be 1 week from today. That will be the crucial port of call that everyone will be sat in, trying to get as much as they can out of. And it will be, quite simply put, all about who can adapt the best. Who is going to stand on top when it comes to the racing action? That is going to be what everyone's going to be looking for. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you at a track to be determined.